Hello everyone and welcome. Today we are talking about the 4 ways to understand truth. And as we're going to see, there's actually only one way to correctly understand truth. You know, isn't this whole idea about there are many paths up the mountain and things like this. When you really want to understand truth in itself, there is only one way to understand existence, because existence is of a certain substance. And so if you try and understand it in a way that is not what it is, there's going to be a barrier between yourself and truth. So ultimately, if you want to understand truth, what you need to do is remove that barrier so that you and truth merge, essentially. The whole idea is to get rid of all barriers, all metaphors, any kind of mediation, so that you and the truth are immediately confronted and become one with one another. Because that's what reality is all about. And this is what's been called the great work. This is what Hegel understands as absolute knowledge, is understanding the unification of subject and object, understanding the truth that substance is subject. And we need to get to that in a very certain way by removing any kind of barriers in between it. And you saw even in the thumbnail that, you know, there's this sort of this maze, because if you pick the wrong method of trying to get to the truth, it's going to lead you into the wrong direction. Reality, existence, it's a puzzle, and we are here to solve that puzzle. We are here to understand what we are. Essentially, reality has been generated by us for self-understanding and self-knowledge. Existence, Earth, the planet, life. This is all a school. It's a training ground. It's and for us. And what kind of training ground? Well, it's a training ground of gods. This is a school for gods. That's what the existence in the holos is. It's a training ground for gods. And what are gods? Well, they're all knowing, and they're all powerful. Now, are you all knowing and all powerful right now? Well, no. That's why it's a training ground. That's why we're on the way to apotheosis. So today we're going to talk about different ways that people try to understand truth, but the way that you can actually come to understand truth in itself, in the Kantian noumenal sense, the in itself, as reality actually is, before any sort of mediation or transformation or anything like that. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. Once again, we are going to be reading excerpts from The Holographic Soul by Mike Hockney, which is an absolutely fantastic book. And if you would like to support the author, the link to where you can do so will be in the description of this video. Also, guys, I want to let you know that today we hit 900,000 followers on Facebook, which is incredible. So let me see some hashtag MMMs in the comments, because we are growing very fast. So I have my coffee. We're going to jump into it and get going right now. Humanity and the truth. There are 4 ways of understanding the world: religiously, philosophically, scientifically, and mathematically. Now, only one of these can provide the correct understanding. Hence, the other 3 are wrong, whether you like it or not. We're not politically correct. We're not in the business of telling everyone they're right. We're absolutists, not relativists. And that's an important thing to point out, and something I say a lot. It's like, so here, if I were just about trying to get popular, trying to build a popular YouTube channel or social media presence or whatever, I would just tell everyone they're right. I would, but no, that the point is to give people the truth. And a lot of people don't like it. They just want to be told that they're right. They want all their, everyone wants their, sort of silly little beliefs to be true, and they love it when you tell them their beliefs are true. But the thing is that what I am here to do, what we are here to do as a movement, is to wake up the world and bring the actual truth to humanity, not a comforting lie. And that's what everyone in the business of, popularity or many religions or spiritual new age gurus, they're just to give people comforting lies. And people are afraid of the truth because the truth is hard. People are afraid of freedom because they have to take responsibility for their own actions. People are afraid of consciousness because then they have to think for themselves rather than having a book dictate to them how to think, or a God in the sky dictate to them how to think, or a preacher from a pulpit dictate to them how to think, or rather what to think. And so as we look at this, it says there are 4 ways to understand the world: religiously, philosophically, scientifically, and mathematically. And that's very, very true. One other thing that I want to put out, though, is that, if we think about, there are, also there are 4 ways to understand the truth in regard to emotions, the senses, intuition, and reason. Okay? And I've talked a little bit about this before, but those who understand reality, try and understand the world through emotions, are those who subscribe to mainstream religion. Right? They put their emotions first, so they don't want to know reality. They're not looking for they're looking for something that gives them emotional satisfaction. They want to connect, they want to have a relationship with it, right? That's why, in mainstream religion, they talk about having a relationship with God. That Jesus loves you. You want to talk to God. It's about this emotion, having that comforting father figure in the sky that you can have a relationship with. And that's what happens when you prioritize emotions. When you then senses, when you prioritize the senses, that's when you get scientific atheistic materialism. When you prioritize the senses, is what you see is what you get, everything around me, that's what exists, and that's it. That's when you start denying the concept of there being a non-physical reality, of any kind of metaphysical existence, and you just say you have this atheistic, nihilistic, materialistic view that reality is only matter, because you're putting primacy on the senses. That's how you get scientific atheism and materialism. Then when you put primacy on intuition, that's when you get New Ageism, Eastern religions like Buddhism and Hinduism and things like this, when you're putting priority on mystical intuition. And then reason is when you get Hyperianism. Reason is when you get ontological mathematics, and when you want to know what reality truly is in itself. And once again, it's not to say that there is anything wrong with emotions. There's nothing wrong with emotions. There's nothing wrong with the senses. There's nothing wrong with the intuition. These are all incredibly important and powerful things, but you have to order them in the correct way. And reason must be the primary function. The guiding function, the filtering function, and the truth function. Everything else has its place. Emotions, how we experience, it gives us will, gives us drive. Senses, that helps us navigate the world. We need our senses. Intuition, our connection to the unconscious. Very important. But reason has to be the one in the driver's seat, controlling things, pointing in the right direction, having our connection to truth, and being able to filter, guide, direct, and order everything else. So, as we continue here, but we're talking about 4 ways of understanding the world: religiously, and scientifically, philosophically, and mathematically. Now, humanity's greatest challenge is to establish which of the 4 is the one that gives us the truth, truth with a capital T, and which are the 3 that deceive us. Humanity can achieve its potential only when it aligns with the truth and rejects the lie. Humanity has hitherto been ruled by the lie. That continues to the present day. Humanity's most impoverished relationship by far is that with the truth. The human mind would prefer almost anything to the truth, while being wholly receptive to the lie. Tellingly, Nietzsche said, "What ultimately are man's truths? Merely his irrefutable errors." Once again, people don't like the truth. Ignorance is bliss for the great majority of people. That's why with us, we are truth seekers. We are the lovers of wisdom, philosophia, the true philosophers. And that's why we say peraspera ad astra, through struggle to the stars. We're not here for the comforting lie. We're not here for ignorance and bliss. We're here for apotheosis. We are the rose that yearns to bloom. We're not going to stay in our protective seed where we have the hard shell and we're protected. What we're going to do is we're going to break the seed. We're going to struggle to break the seed, and then we're going to push through the dirt, and then we're going to persevere despite the rain, despite the weather, despite the elements, despite the insects that bite and gnaw, we're going to continue to grow and grow and bloom, while the rest of the world is just in their protective shells, their protective sheaths. But no, throughout Perispera ad Astra, through struggle to the stars. And then eventually, we want to pull the rest of the world up with us. And then we will have a brilliant and beautiful garden. Our new Terra, our new world. So the human race did not evolve with respect to truth, that is, in a manner in which all things that deviated from the truth were ruthlessly and relentlessly deselected, meaning that we became more and more truthful with each and every genetic mutation. No, that's not what happened. The human race evolved instead with respect to survival and reproduction, neither of which is concerned in the slightest with the question of what is true. And what is the value of the true? So essentially what's being said here is that through evolution, evolution isn't a truth selector. Evolution in its unconscious state is not, humanity, we didn't evolve being cultivating truthfulness. Instead, it was based with respect to survival and reproduction. Because that's what the early stages of evolution is all about, just simply survival and reproduction. And survival and reproduction has no connection with truth whatsoever. You don't need to know what is true to survive and reproduce. You need to be good at killing, and you need to be good at fucking. That's what you need to do, and that's what evolution concentrates on. And that's when you look around, the world today, do you see an obsession with truth? Or do you see an obsession with, killing and fucking? And nothing wrong with fucking. Killing, yes, there is lots of things wrong there. But the important thing to understand is that these things have no connection to truth. So, anything that didn't evolve according to the truth, ipso facto evolved according to the non-truth, that is the lie. Humanity is an inherently mendacious species. Evolution guaranteed this outcome. Evolution ensures that we encounter the lie before the truth and must overcome the lie to get to the truth. In Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche wrote, "Granted we want truth, why not rather untruth? How could something originate in its antithesis? Truth in error, for example, or will to truth in will to deception. The falseness of a judgment is not necessarily an objection to a judgment. To renounce false judgments would be to renounce life, would be to deny life. The falsest judgments are the most indispensable to us. The problem of the value of truth stepped before us, or was it we who stepped before this problem? Which of us is Oedipus here? Which of us the Sphinx?" That was a quote by Friedrich Nietzsche. Nothing is more problematic for humanity than the truth. Humans are staggeringly alienated from it. I mean, look around. Look how alienated humanity is from the truth. People want conspiracy theories. People want religions. People want everything other than truth. They might not say that, but it is true. If you place the truth right in front of their face, they would fail to recognize it. Which we do. Which we do place truth right in front of people's faces. And they do fail to recognize it. And really, reality puts it in front of their face. But they fail to recognize it. Like someone that gazes into a mirror and doesn't realize that they're looking at their own reflection. And this is what it's all about, to become more highly conscious, to step into a new awareness. Because that's what existence is. Existence is our mirror. And humanity has truth right in front of it, but it fails to realize it. It fails to recognize itself in the mirror. Existence is us externalized. We are looking at ourselves in the mirror. That's what the holos is. And everything is mathematical. Everything is mathematical. There is not one thing that violates a law of mathematics. Everything around you exhibits the laws of mathematics. And everything is you externalized because we are mathematical entities. And so humanity fails to recognize itself in the mirror. Truth is right in front of it. And we even rip away the veil by putting it in as easy to understand language as possible. Hell knows, the amount of videos I create trying to make it as easy to understand as possible. And humanity fails to recognize it. They'd rather, jump on Snapchat or TikTok or, see what the Kardashians are doing, or I don't know. I don't know what people do. What do people do? You tell me what people do. I don't know what people do. Weird things. Not truthful things. If you place the truth right in front of their face, they would fail to recognize it because humans have no organ for truth. The truth to the average human being is invisible. Religion provides an understanding of the world based on faith, feelings, and mysticism, intuition. It rejects everything that's not about having a direct experiential relationship with God or the universe. That's what people want. They want a relationship. They don't want truth. They want a relationship and with God or the universe. And again, in all these new age ideas, you see that more and more and more. They're just replacing words. Instead of faith, replace it with good vibes. Instead of prayer, sending positive frequencies. Instead of trusting in God, trusting in the universe. All these, supposedly woke new age memes are exactly the same as mainstream religion. But instead of praying to God, they're setting their intentions to the universe. They're just swapping words around. It's all the same shit. All the same shit. And humanity just trades one lie for another. One piece of shit for another piece of shit. So, religion rejects everything that's not about having a direct experiential relationship with God or the universe. Now, philosophy provides an understanding based on speculative thinking, but can never find evidence or proof for its claims. So in other words, philosophy is very interesting and has a lot to do with rational analysis, but, it never provides any evidence or sort of proof. Science provides an understanding based on the senses, rejecting everything non-sensory. All scientific evidence is sensory evidence, hence presupposes an ideological repudiation of any other kind of evidence. So essentially what this is saying is that science finds empirical evidence, but this presupposes that empiricism is true and that empirical data provides knowledge. So basically, it only has to do with the material world. Historically, virtually no one has accepted mathematics as the proper way to understand reality. Mathematics is regarded as mysterious or an unreal abstraction, or something too pure for the ordinary world. According to Plato, its reality relates to a transcendent, intelligible domain, and we get only imperfect copies of mathematical form in the sensible world of our experience. It goes without saying that the thing that humanity regards as most unreal and most distant from the human condition must be the truth. After all, if evolution made us a lying species, the biggest lies we tell ourselves would concern what constitutes truth. If we evolved without any regard to the truth would naturally seem fantastically unreal to us. In fact, we would have exactly the same attitude toward it that we have towards math. That's no coincidence. Math is the truth, and humanity has no evolutionary relationship with math/truth. So humanity is very alienated from mathematics. Humanity hates mathematics. And the ironic thing about this is because mathematics is true. We are mathematical beings. And when I say that mathematics is reality, it's not like these scratch marks on paper. It's living frequency. This is a reality of living frequency, living mind, living thought. But yes, it is mathematical. It is mathematics. Frequency is mathematics. Energy is mathematics. That's what it is. But humanity hates that. But we didn't have to evolve, through our evolutionary cycles to survive and reproduce. We didn't have to do any sort of explicit mathematical calculations or anything like that. We've begun to develop this as we now have developed the ability to consciously reason, which we acquired through self-awareness and self-reflection. And humanity absolutely hates truth, and you can see that in the fact that humanity absolutely hates mathematics. Because it views mathematics as something cold and unreal. It thinks, oh, mathematics isn't something that I can have a relationship with. Mathematics isn't something that I can pray to. Mathematics isn't something that can, comfort me at night. But the fact is that we are living frequency. That's what we are. And when you really begin to rationally understand and examine existence, you will come to this inevitable conclusion that it can be no other way. That is what we are. Pythagoras said, all is number. Number rules the universe. Everything around you is pattern. Everything around you is frequency. There is nothing that is not pattern. There is nothing that is not frequency. That's because this is a patterned existence. That's exactly what mathematics is. Mathematics is pattern. So when you hear people talking about, oh, reality is a simulation. No, it's not a simulation. It's mathematics. It seems like a simulation because mathematics is similar to a code. But you have all these people talking about, oh, reality is a simulation. Reality is based on information. Well, what's that simulation based on? What's the simulation of the simulation? What's the ultimate reality? If reality is information, what kind of information? Is it ones and zeros? If so, where did the ones and zeros come from? We know reality is mathematics. We know reality is frequency. And we know where it came from. We know it's eternal because it's equivalent to zero. When you have every possible value, both positive, negative, real numbers and imaginary, both positive and negative, they balance to zero. And zero is nothingness, and zero is eternal. You can neither create nor destroy nothingness. Zero's essence is to exist. The essence of nothingness is to exist. It must exist. Its existence is compulsory. And so we absolutely know how mathematics can be, how frequency can be. It's built into the system. Our existence is mandatory. We can't not exist. Watch my video on nothingness and non-existence. So, all the truths of math are eternal, hence our outside evolution. We discover the truth by transcending human evolution, by linking to the eternal, necessary, infallible order of existence. Since this domain has nothing to do with our feelings or mystical intuitions or our senses, it's impossible for a human to conceive of it. Only the most intelligent human beings can surpass the human condition and connect to the truth. And that's why I always say, if you are here listening to this and you're starting to understand this, give yourself credit, because I know this is very, very difficult material. I know it's hard to understand. But when you are understanding Hyperianism, even if it's in a limited capacity, if you're starting to understand this, you are light years beyond the vast majority of humanity who can't even come close to fathoming this. That's why we say we are the next evolutionary step. That's what we are. We are beyond humanity. We are Hyperion. And so if you're beginning to understand this, if you're approaching Hyperianism and beginning to grasp this, I know it's hard, but have pride that you can begin to understand this. Because, as I said, you're already light years ahead of humanity who can't even come to a fraction of can't even begin to approach this. The light is too blinding. The light blinds their eyes. They're blinded. Only the most intelligent human beings can surpass the human condition and connect to the truth. Anyone who tells you that the truth is based on faculties that have evolved in human beings, such as the senses or feelings, proves they have no idea what the truth is and what truth must be. Truth, by definition, has always been true. Truth is always true. If there was a time when truth wasn't true, it wouldn't be truth. It can't be falsified, nor can it be experimentally verified. Truth has nothing to do with the senses and experiments, since it came before the senses and experiments. You can't understand what truth is until you remove all of your human ideas about it and imagine what it was like an infinity ago. Forget feelings, forget your senses, forget your experiences, forget everything to do with your humanity. Forget evolution. Try to conceive of a universe with zero human characteristics. The universe of naked existence. Such a universe has always existed. It's the invisible, noumenal universe of mathematics, of rational information, rational relation that stands permanently behind the scenes. It's the code behind the game that you never perceive in the game. We encounter it phenomenally in terms of the human appearance we project onto it via our human evolution. So we encounter its representation all around us, but not it in itself. Just like in a game, you encounter the code's representation as the game world, but not the code in itself. The task is to encounter it noumenally, stripped of all appearance, stripped of everything human. So that would be to access the code, but not in-game. Because you can't access the code in itself in-game. The code is outside of the game. Only one thing remains true when you have removed all human considerations. Mathematics. God, that's a human construct. Nirvana, that's a human construct. String theory, that's a human construct. The only thing that isn't a human construct is the truth, which is ontological mathematics. Everything man-made belongs to the lie, and necessarily so. The last place where the average person would look for the truth is in mathematics. So that's exactly where to find it. The truth of existence is hidden in plain sight of everyone. The problem is not to encounter the truth, but to recognize it. And I want to emphasize that again. The problem is, all right, what you're trying to do is not encounter the truth, but to recognize it. You can encounter the truth all around you every day, but fail to recognize it. You can have someone staring at themselves in the mirror and encountering that, but failing to recognize it. So the task is not to encounter the truth. The task is to recognize it. Humans are designed by evolution to see anything other than the truth as the truth. We live in a cosmic version of Catch-22 because we have not evolved with respect to the truth. We treat the truth as though it were unreal and abstract. We regard as true all those things that evolution has made us regard as real and concrete. See, evolution has made the physical world true for us. It's not actually true, but we think that it's true because evolution has designed us so that we perceive the material world as being true. Why? Well, because we don't want to get eaten by an animal. We want to be able to survive. We want to be able to pick the berries and the fruits off the tree and to navigate our world. So evolution has designed us to take the physical as true. But it's not the physical that's true. It's what lies behind the physical that is true. But evolution doesn't care about what's behind the physical. Evolution cares about the physical, because that's what is about survival. You know? Reproducing, surviving, killing, fucking. Not what's behind the truth. Or behind the physical, I mean. Why would evolution care about that? But now, as we develop self-awareness and rational reflection, we can begin to recognize the truth. The vast majority of humanity won't. But we can begin to recognize the truth. And that's what we do as Hyperions. We recognize the truth. Not encounter it, but recognize it. The things that are most real to us are our sensations, our feelings, and our mystical intuitions. That is, what we can encounter with our senses or feel about when we've encountered things with our senses, including all of the other humans who we come into contact with and what we intuit. As soon as you make concreteness a criterion of truth, you have subscribed to the lie. You have succumbed to what evolution has made you regard as real, and you have scorned the non-evolutionary world, the world of eternal truth, as unreal. Humanity would have no problems if it had a concrete relationship with the truth. But it doesn't. It has an abstract relationship with it, insofar as the truth is neither emotional, sensory, nor mystical. In terms of the theory of the triune brain, humanity is ruled by its reptilian brainstem and its limbic system, the two most ancient structures of the brain. The newest part of the brain, the neocortex, is the part that allows us to escape the evolutionary basics of sensations and feelings. It allows us to harness abstract reasoning, the tool that can lead us to the world of eternal truths beyond the human condition. So, according to the triune brain, which is a very, very simplistic model, okay? It's not really a true, it's not a very, very accurate model, but it's, talking about it in a certain way gives us an easy thing to talk about, okay? So the triune brain is that essentially our brains are composed of the reptilian brain, the limbic system, and the neocortex. And the reptilian brain is the part of our brain that is about, it has to do with our instincts, fight, flight, fucking, feeding, and fighting, and fleeing. Fucking, feeding, fighting, fleeing, right? You got the 4 F's. That's what the reptilian brain is for. And that's the oldest part of our evolution. Right? That's sort of what's most in the most ancient aspect of us is concerned with that. Then you have the limbic system, which is about emotions, feelings, love, sadness, happiness. And then the most new development is the neocortex, and that's where we have conscious reasoning, and that's the newest development. So humanity is this sort of like amalgamation of like a rational computer linked with a mammal linked to a reptile. It's this very odd sort of amalgamation, and we have to realize that it's the neocortex that gives us the ability to access truth. But humanity is so more acquainted with the limbic system and the reptilian brain, and it's very inexperienced with using the neocortex. So the newest part of the brain, the neocortex, that's the part that allows us to escape the evolutionary basics. The limbic system, the reptilian brain, sensations and feelings. It allows us to harness abstract reasoning, the tool that can lead us to the world of eternal truths beyond the human condition. And that's the thing. Like, look, we are on a pathway to development here, and it's ridiculous that people scorn our most powerful and latest development. Of course, reason is going to lead us to the truth. Of course it is. We are on a pathway towards this. Yet barely any humans are rational. Nearly all humans use their reasoning. Nearly all human beings use their reasoning abilities, such as they are, but they use them to support their feelings and their sensations and their mystical intuitions. Religious types try to put a rational gloss on faith and mysticism, while scientific types try to use reason and math to account for what they have detected with their human senses. Scientists put their senses first, not reason and mathematics. So isn't this interesting? Is that humans use reason to try and justify their senses, their feelings, or their intuitions. Right? Have you ever, encountered a religious person who is trying to rationally tell you, quote unquote, rationally defend why they have faith, or someone or a scientist trying to rationally defend their belief in materialism. And it's really funny that they're using reason as the tool to try and validate their beliefs, when why don't you just cut out the middleman and realize that reason is true? Reason is the truth. Reason itself is the truth. Mathematics is the expression of reason. Okay? So reason and math are the same thing. Mathematics is an interlocking system of reason. So you can see where humans even have this sort of unconscious understanding that reason is the truth revealer, because faith-based individuals will try and use reason to explain their faith, and scientific materialists will try and use reason to explain their faith in materialism. But why not just go with reason itself? I hope you can see sort of what I'm trying to say here. If you're using reason as the tool for your truth revealer, aren't you realize that reason is the truth? Reason itself is the truth. Stop trying to use reason to validate something that's not reason. Do you see the fallacy going on here? Reason is true. Stop trying to use reason to validate non-reason. It's not going to work because it's not reason. Humans with no regard for the truth always put their sensations, feelings, or mystical intuitions first. The task, if you want a relationship with the truth, is to put your reason first. Hence, to downgrade your sensations, feelings, and mystical intuitions, and in fact to regard these as the sources of Maya, illusion. Now, when we say downgrade, what it means by downgrade is like not to scorn them, right? By downgrading your senses, obviously you're not going to sense things less. You're not going to feel things less. You're not going to intuit things less. But it means that you don't put them in the position of truth. Remember, we have everything in a certain position. You just have to order things correctly. Just take faith, feelings, and senses out of the truth box, put reason there, and put everything in the box where they're supposed to go. Senses is for navigating the physical world. Emotions are our desire and connection to experience, and intuition is our connection to our unconscious. Reason is the highest faculty. So when it's saying downgrade, it doesn't mean to lessen them. It means to take them out of the truth box and order them in their, put them in the modality that is appropriate for them and where they're supposed to order them correctly. Order them correctly. Take them out of the driver's seat and put them where they're supposed to go. It's not the eternal necessary order of truth that is illusory. It's the temporal contingent order of evolution, the lie. But the lie is concrete to us, to most people, and the truth is abstract. So we're much more receptive to the lie and much more humanly certain of its reality. To align yourself with the truth, you must abandon any notion that the truth will ever seem humanly real to you, that is concrete, experienced by you emotionally, or with your senses, or with your mystical intuitions. That's never going to happen. Religious people dream of an encounter with some kind of concrete creator god, or mystical immersion in and absorption by bare reality. Will dream on. Scientific types dream of some ultimate sensory experiment that will reveal all of the material secrets of existence. But that's an utter impossibility. Whether you like it or not, and you definitely won't unless you're a rationalist and not an empiricist, mystic, or a person of faith, the truth is mathematics. The truth will seem horribly cold, remote, abstract, and unreal to you. Such is the human condition. To find the truth, you must transcend your humanity. And what could be more difficult than that? Coming into a relationship with the truth is the greatest challenge of all, because you have to realize that you are far more than a human. You are an eternal, mathematical being, an immortal, monadic soul. Your humanity, it's just a costume that you're wearing right now. It's not who you are. So mathematics may seem cold, unreal, and abstract, but that's because you're human. Once you transcend your humanity, become Hyperion, and realize that you are an immortal, eternal, monadic soul, you will realize that you are a mathematical being. And then mathematics won't be a cold, dead abstraction. It will be the pulse of life itself. Because it is what you are. Nothing is more interesting than how people approach the answer to existence. What are they looking for? How do they conduct the task? What will satisfy them as the answer? How can something be an answer if it's not an answer for everyone? Feeling types look for the answer in a super being, or God, a creator God, with whom they can have an intense emotional relationship with. God must be able to offer them peace, security, justice, paradise, freedom from fear, and above all, unconditional love and acceptance for eternity. You see all these emotional elements that people are looking for here, rather than any kind of actual truth. This is the only type of answer that feeling types will accept. This has nothing to do with a rational explanation of existence. It's about an emotional relation with a vastly greater power. This power is simply accepted as God. No explanation of God is required. And this is what Abrahamism is revolves around. And you even get this, you ask people, well, how can God exist? And they'll just give you things like, oh, well, we can't know. It's beyond our comprehension. It's God. So they're not looking for any kind of real rational answers. They're looking for, again, security, peace, and a relationship, a protection. Really, it stems from a fear of consciousness, all right? This always stems from a fear of being conscious, because when you have self-awareness and self-reflection, this comes with a lot of you have to make decisions for yourself. You have to take responsibility with freedom, and most people are afraid of freedom and consciousness. They say they want freedom, they say they want consciousness, but they actually don't. They're actually afraid of freedom, and they're afraid of consciousness. They want a God to make their choices for them. They want to follow what a God says, what a book says, what a preacher says. They want their choices made for them. They want to be told what to do. They want a father figure to take care of them, and everything is going to be all right because Jesus is watching me. So they're looking for this emotional security blanket, rather than any kind of idea of truth. Now, intuitive types are looking for some all-encompassing mystical vision of completeness, wholeness, and oneness. And again, there isn't anything wrong with having a mystical vision of completeness and oneness, just like there's nothing wrong with having an emotional relationship. But it is not rational truth. And this is what Eastern religion is about. It concerns achieving a state of mind where you feel at one with the totality of the universe, the whole. Again, it has nothing to do with a rational explanation of existence. It's a feeling, right? It's a feeling is not truth. Okay? Experiencing is not. It's not an answer. It's not an explanation. Okay? As Hyperions, we want to know. We are knowers. Knowledge. Not feelers. Again, there's nothing wrong with feeling. There's nothing wrong with intuition. There's nothing wrong with having, experiences like this. But it's not an answer. It's not truth. It's not knowledge. So, again, it has nothing to do with a rational explanation of existence. No explanation of the oneness is required, right? Because in Hyperionism, there is a oneness. Of course there is. There's a one and the many. We have the absolute and Abraxas, which is both one and many simultaneously. So we do have a oneness, but we have an explanation for it. In Eastern religions and whatnot, there's an idea of oneness, but there's no rational explanation given. It's just a given, an intuitive experience. So they want to experience this state, but it has nothing to do with a rational explanation of existence. No explanation of the oneness is ever required. It's all about the experience of it, not the understanding of it. Now, please understand that difference. That's why, it's so frustrating when people come in and go, you're just talking about Hinduism, or you're talking about this. No. We're not. No. It's completely different. It's not about the experience of it. It's about understanding. It's about knowledge. Knowledge. Do you see the serpents? We are the serpents. We're about the knowledge. We're about the fruit. Sensing types look for something that they can see, or hear, or touch, or smell, and taste. An absolutely sensory thing. And that's what science is all about. Scientists can't conceive of the answer to existence because something wholly non-sensory, unalterably unavailable to observations and experiments, entirely non-concrete. Once again, science has nothing to do with a rational explanation of existence. No ontological explanation of sensory things is required or provided by science. Physical things are simply given, just as God and the oneness are given for the emotionalists and intuitives, respectively. Just like at the Big Bang, everything was generated randomly via no rational mechanism. Quantum fluctuations are not a rational explanation. Science has no place for analytic principles, logic, or the principle of sufficient reason. It's all about the irrational, illogical senses. A scientist is simply required to produce an idea for which there is sensory evidence. He's never expected to provide any infallible, absolute, or incontestable truth. There's a big difference between sensory evidence and analytic a priori first principles. All scientists recognize that their theories can never be definitively verified, and must always remain capable of being falsified. Such theories can therefore never constitute truth. By definition, the truth cannot be falsified, and equally, it is in no need of sensory verification. So you have this idea of falsification in science where for something to be accepted as a theory, it has to be falsifiable, which means you would have to be able to, in theory, demonstrate that it's false. It could be false. There has to be a way for you to be able to demonstrate that it could be false. And this ipso facto, it entails within itself this idea of science being falsifiable. The fact that they include that within their paradigm proves that they can never arrive at truth, because truth is not falsifiable. If truth could be falsified, it wouldn't be truth. 2 + 2 = 4 is not falsifiable. So again, falsifiability is this criterion of science that for something to be able to be a theory, it has to be able to be falsified, which means you would have to be able, for it to be a theory, you would have to be there has to be some way that you could demonstrate that it's wrong. Well, that automatically creates an unbridgeable chasm between them and the truth, because the truth is something that can never be falsified. It's unfalsifiable. Truth is unfalsifiable. If truth could be falsified, it wouldn't be true. True is necessarily, eternally true, which can never be falsified. The truth of mathematics can never be falsified. By definition, the truth cannot be falsified, and equally, it is in no need of sensory verification. Scientists are emphatically not looking for an answer or for the truth. They're looking for something quite different. A theory in which they can place a high degree of confidence because it's evidentially supported, that is, has sensory justification. Scientists are just looking to model things, to model reality, not to explain the ultimate nature of reality. They can never do so, because truth is unfalsifiable and beyond the realm of sensory experiments. So science is all about building a model. What's a model? It's like a map. Science is not interested or can never reach the actual territory. It can only build maps, and inaccurate maps at that. Maps that can never get to the true nature of reality. Science is not rational. It's sensory. which is an entirely different thing. Reason is smuggled into science via mathematics, the quintessence of rationalism. To see how irrational science fundamentally is, all you need to do is imagine science without math. Instantly it becomes a religion, alchemy, astrology, divination, anything based on natural observations. Math is the only thing that stops science from being a joke. Yet no scientist seems to have grasped this. Scientists think that science is superior to math and more real than math, when in fact science's success flows exclusively from math, and it would be enormously more successful, more real and true if it simply became ontological mathematics. This is the ridiculous thing, how I was talking about before, how you have, religions that try and use reason to justify itself, or science that tries to use reason to justify itself. Stop trying to use reason to justify something that's non-reason and just realize that reason is the truth. If science accepted that math was true, it would be light years ahead of itself and become ontological mathematics. Remove math from science and science collapses. It's a fraud, a joke. Math is what gives science its power. So science must recognize the divinity of math and the power of math and the actuality of math and the essence of math. So again, stop trying to use reason to justify all your fallacious, non-rational theories, and just realize that the thing that you're using is what is true. And you see, they get that on some level because they're using it to try and justify their position. So they realize that reason reveals truth, yet they fail to see that reason is true. It's right in front of them. Remember we talked about, being right in front of you but not being able to recognize it? It's right in front of them. They're using reason to try and reveal truth when it's right. Hey guys, it's reason that is the truth. So stop trying to use reason to justify your irrational ideas. Thinking types, rationalists, which is our Hyperions, are looking for an answer that's infallibly and incontestably true, that's eternally, necessarily, and absolutely true. Right? We don't just want to experience the oneness. If you go pop acid if you want to experience it. Disclaimer, don't do anything illegal. Right? I'm not advocating anything illegal. But that's what I'm saying. We're not about, again, there's nothing wrong with experiencing oneness. That's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's great. It's fantastic. Okay? There's nothing wrong with it. But we're not looking to just experience. We're looking to know. That's how one becomes divine. Knowledge is power. And we are the knowers. And that is how we will harness our powers and be able to be the masters of this reality. Knowledge is power. Thinking types, rationalists, are looking for an answer that's infallibly and incontestably true. We are not looking for experience, we're looking for answers. There's nothing wrong with experience. Experience is great, it's wonderful. But we are looking for answers. Incontestably true, eternally, necessarily, and absolutely true, perpetually logical, consistent, and complete. And only one subject offers this: ontological mathematics. Ontological mathematics, it's the same for everyone. It's entirely objective. Nothing else is. Our feelings, intuitions, and senses, they're all subjective. You can feel something can make you really happy, and someone else it can make them incredibly depressed. Feelings aren't the same for other people. Intuitions aren't the same for other people. Everyone. You can have an intuition that reality is one. Someone else can have the intuition that reality is many. Someone can have the intuition that we're being overrun by reptilian overlords. Someone else can have an intuition that the moon is hollow, or whatever. Intuition is not the same for everyone. Senses are not the same for everyone. You can have a vibrant experience of the world all around you. Someone else could be colorblind. But ontological mathematics is objectively true. 2 plus 2 equals 4 is the same for everyone. Doesn't matter who it is. It's not going to change. 2 plus 2 equals 4 is true for me. It's true for you. It's true for someone across the world. It's true all the way across the universe. It's eternally true. It's true a billion years ago. It will be true a billion years from now. It is unaffected by temporality. It's unaffected by space. It's always true. Only reason transcends the human condition, hence can access what lies beyond the human condition. Unfortunately, irrational people will never accept a rational, logical answer to existence. They will always regard it as unreal and abstract, hence incredible, false, and wrong. So it goes. Everyone must be disabused of the delusion that reason and science go together. They don't. Reason and science, reason appears in science only as a side effect, thanks to its unexplained and unjustified use of rationalist math. Take away the math, and where's the reason? Science papers make no reference to the principle of sufficient reason, to logic, to analytic principles. No scientific paper is written as a mathematical proof. They are all immensely speculative, and they are all provisional interpretations of experimental observations reflecting currently popular paradigms, all of which will be overturned in due course. No rational person would ever be satisfied with science. Irrational sensing types, however, can't conceive of anything better. The universe must have a rational answer. If it doesn't, it's a miracle. It's magic. Science, unlike math, has nothing against magic and miracles, since it denies an eternal, rational, logical, necessary order of existence. It's perfectly happy to claim that existence randomly jumps out of non-existence for no reason via no mechanism. There are no miracles in magic in a rational, intelligible universe. They are utterly forbidden. Everything has a sensible, sufficient reason. And that's the thing. You have science that makes fun of mainstream religion for the idea of a creator God and things like this. However, they are equally, if not worse, when they appeal to their version of miracles, such as the Big Bang, non-existence coming from non-existence randomly due to quantum fluctuations or whatever irrational non-explanation that they wish to give. These ideas are completely incompatible with reason. So the holographic theory. The theory, so this is a quote by Marilyn Ferguson, the theory in a nutshell, our brains mathematically construct concrete reality by interpreting frequencies from another dimension, a realm of meaningful pattern primary reality that transcends time and space. The brain is a hologram interpreting a holographic universe. So the frequencies in question do not belong to another dimension, they belong to no dimensions at all. So yeah, that's the idea here. So the frequencies of existence, like, yes, it's the 0th dimension, okay? So you could say no dimensions. That's very, very true. The 0th dimension is a dimensionless realm. So frequencies, what dimension are they in? Well, the 0th dimension. It's dimensionless, a dimensionless realm. So all frequencies are by definition outside the dimension of space and time, hence transcend them. They exist in the dimensionless, purely mathematical dimensionless domain. All physical things are holograms. So our brains, yes, are holograms, our bodies are holograms, and the universe itself is a hologram. So the important thing to remember about this and what we're talking about here is the true reality is a dimensionless domain of pure frequency. And this is a mathematical domain. And everything is mathematics, okay? So this pure frequency domain is a mathematical domain. And then Through a Fourier transform, we can have a space-time representation of frequency. We can experience that frequency in a spatial temporal manner. And that is the world around us. So we have reality, which is ultimately mathematical. Feelings aren't going to give us answers to ultimate reality. Emotions, senses aren't, and intuitions aren't. These things just give us experiences. And again, I'm not knocking experience. Experience is experience is wonderful, okay? It's great. But truth and experience are not the same thing. So really just understand that truth and experience are not the same thing. There's nothing wrong with experience, nothing at all. But we want the truth. Do you want the truth? I would hope so. So in order to understand the truth, we have to realize that this is a mathematical reality, and we have to understand that we can come to know this through reason. Because reason is mathematics, and mathematics is reason. They're the same thing. And once again, it may seem like to say that reality is mathematical, that reality is frequency, is dead, cold, and abstract, but that's only if you're having the human perspective. Once you shed that human perspective and go beyond human, then you will be able to see that it is the pulse of life itself. It will no longer be living, it will no longer be lifeless, it will no longer be dead, it will no longer be abstract. It will be living, vibrant, fluid, exhilarating, the pulse of life itself, because it is what you are. So as soon as you shed that humanity and go beyond, become Hyperion, and realize that you are an eternal, monadic soul, then you will realize and you will be confronted by the true nature of existence as you realize that everything is us. Everything is frequency. Everything is what we are. And it is simply us to recognize it. Not to encounter it. Everyone encounters it every day. But to recognize it. We're in a hall of mirrors. And we are truth, and it's everywhere. But no one recognizes it. It can be right in front of you. But reason is the only way to be able to recognize what is everywhere. What it is, because it is you, it is us, it is me, it is all of us. It is right in front of you, it is everywhere. And reason is the key that allows us to unlock the secrets of existence.